of the COVID-19 pandemic is irresponsible and unacceptable. Chra is aware of council nurses who are now offering health services in their homes, including maternal services. Our members have also brought to our attention the unfortunate incidences of corruption by some council health workers who take drugs from the few operational polyclinics. These corrupt health workers have turned their homes into mini pharmacies, selling medication to desperate residents in foreign currency, while claiming that the city's health department is not stocking the clinics with medicines. The government of Zimbabwe cannot be exonerated on the closure of council clinics in Harare. Provision of health services by Harare City Council is an unfunded mandate. Hence, we call upon the government of Zimbabwe to put a reasonable fiscal commitment towards health for local authorities in the 2021 budget. Chra will put a series of measures to monitor the implementation and compliance of the court order by both the City of Harare and the central government, and we will not hesitate to approach the courts again if they fail to comply. We are disappointed that during the time of a global pandemic, where other governments are prioritizing access to primary health care, we have been forced to access this basic right and service via the courts. This calls for serious introspection on both local and national leadership. We call upon the government of Zimbabwe to address the economic fundamentals and unbridled corruption that has seen the collapse of the health service delivery system, not only in Harare, but other local authorities as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Batasara, do you have any words that you'd like to add?
Yes, sure. I don't know if I'm not now watering down the statement by the director. It's just by way of a correction. You see, the order that we eventually got does not bind the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Local Government, and the Ministry of Finance as such. The order is specifically directed against the seat of Harare. The court was not persuaded by our arguments to, especially to include the Ministry of Finance, in the sense that the Ministry of Finance has no obligation to do a budget for seat of Harare, because it's a local authority that it derives its revenue from residents, using various mechanisms. So the order, which is still valid, is against the first respondent, which is the seat of Harare, and they have to comply. And to add on to that, during argument, it was very disappointing that the seat of Harare brought this argument of limited resources to try and deny people their basic right. But eventually the court saw the insincerity in that argument, because for starters, when women access, not only women, when residents access these services, they actually pay. Might be a small amount, but still they do pay. That's the first thing. The second thing, we don't believe that there is a lack of resources. We think it's a matter of lack of prioritization of issues by the city fathers, which resulted in the closure. And an industrial strike cannot be given as an excuse for then violating the rights which are contained in the Constitution. You can see that the right to health is linked to the right to life under Section 48. And the right to life includes the right to life of unborn children. It's there in the Constitution. So this has got a very big impact, particularly on women. And we welcome this decision, because it's an elucidation on and an expansion on the right to social and economic rights, rights that are usually ignored by the courts and even by the state when they concentrate on other rights like political rights.
We can take some questions.
Goes to Chra.
Yes.
I want to know, you only took the city council to court, but we also realized that even the Minister of Health is also to blame, because we have the major hospitals in Harare, like Harare Hospital and Harare hospitals. They also partially closed, and those are the referral centers in the capital. And most people who fail to get access to access to the clinics, they end up being referred to these hospitals, but they are also closed, and it means most people end up dying in their homes because they don't have access to this to health services. Why did you not include the Minister of Health in this case? Mhm.
Can we please have another question? Yes.
In the application, you cited pregnant women. How about other newborn babies and other population besides women who are pregnant?
I'll give the floor to Mrs. Mpasi.
Yeah, in our application, the Ministry of Health was also cited, as well as the Ministry of Finance, like Mr. Batasara also alluded to. But in terms of the order now, these ministries were not, held accountable. And in terms of, and the other thing which then also made us to focus also on the polyclinics is that this is an initiative that came out of the communities when we were doing community engagement with our members. So as Chra, we derive our mandate from what the members say, what the residents are saying. So we took it as it was from the reports that we were getting from the residents. And this is how we then came up with this application, because the impact that citizens were facing was much more within those polyclinics, because they are the ones that directly serve the residents in the wards. And then on the issue of pregnant women and unborn, it was also included even generally to all residents, because it's not just the maternal clinics that are going to be opened, but every other clinic that is serving the residents of Harare in the different wards of the city.
So the order says, what does the order say now? Because I feel that maybe the council may open clinics for that particular section of society and then ignore everyone else.
Not necessarily. The order actually speaks to the opening of all clinics, but then it also mentioned that including pregnant women should be attended to. Maybe
Yes. To start with the question, you see, as lawyers, when we go to court, first we should have a client, right? And in this particular case, we have Chra, which was the first applicant, and then we have two women who were directly affected by the actions of the closure of the clinics in particular. They had not visited the central hospital or Paranyakwa. So basically they had no cause of action. They had no complaint against those institutions. But I accept your point is very valid, because at a bigger picture, I think someone has to also tackle the issue from that level. But you would want someone who would have gone to Paranyakwa, for instance, or to Harare Hospital, for instance, and then denied the services for us to then start the ball rolling. We can't just do that by the stories that we hear in the communities and so on. But actually, those ministries were included. The Minister of Health, it was included, though the court was not persuaded that in this particular case it has to be held accountable. Coming to Thomas' question, the order is for opening and making sure that all clinics are operational by the 14th of October. That is the first paragraph of the order. The second paragraph relates now to the accessing of health services by pregnant women starting from yesterday, starting from the date of the order. So you see what can actually happen is that a pregnant woman can present themselves herself at a clinic today. If they are denied services, that will be condemned because the second paragraph of the order started to operate from the day the order was granted. It's not going to wait until all clinics are open. So there is no contradiction or there is no room for them to then wriggle out or circumvent the order of court. And the order applies to everyone. I mean, all residents who are seeking medical services. You know, we, in fact, in our application, we included people with chronic illnesses, you know, diabetes, BP, people who are on ARVs, who were now threatened with non-compliance and, you know, all the other consequences that arise from failure to adhere to your medication. So everyone is included. Yeah, but we also wanted to focus on women because it's only fair. I mean, they constitute the majority of the population anyway. So and it got us to some extent. It helped us to get this fantastic order that we got.
Are there any more questions? Okay, I'll take it that everyone is satisfied. Thank you so much for joining us today. So this is the end. Thank you.
Thank you.